Hi everybody, it's Peter Schiff. It's Friday the 13th of November 2009. Welcome to the video blog. Well, gold finished another record week with a new record high, up another $15 an ounce today. The dollar finished on a sour note, down again. We're still managing to close above the 75 handle, but I think we're hanging on to that support level by a very tenuous thread. I would not be surprised to see us crash through that level as soon as next week. You know, President Obama is touring Asia right now, and I think he's going to find a lot of problems for the dollar on this trip. You know, we just got news last night out of the finance minister of South Korea that after spending or buying $65 billion this year in an effort to try to slow the appreciation of their currency, they're basically giving up, and they're going to stop buying dollars and let their currency rise. And I think we're going to find Asian central banks around the world coming to the same conclusion. They've been throwing their own good money after our bad money, and they're going to stop this. And maybe they'll even figure out that, contrary to popular belief, it is not in their best interest to do this, that their economies will thrive if they simply detether themselves from the U.S. Titanic of an economy. And it's the American economy that's going to suffer when they come to their senses. Of course, in the long run, the sooner they come to their senses, the better, because they're going to figure it out eventually anyway. And the longer it takes, the worse our economy is going to get in the process. You know, one of the things that Barack Obama is going to try to do, at least this is what the media is saying, is when he goes to China, and he'll be there, you know, next, or a couple of days, is to try to convince the Chinese to let the Chinese RMB appreciate, to get them to get their citizens to spend more money. Well, we can't want that, because we're also telling the Chinese to support our budget deficits and our stimulus by buying our treasuries. Well, which is it? We can't want them to do both. Either the Chinese spend our money or they loan it to us. They can't spend it and loan it to us, right? They can't work miracles. So it's either the Chinese spend money or they lend it to Americans and we spend money. They can't have it both ways. Now, eventually they're going to figure out that it's better for their citizens if they get to spend their money themselves and enjoy all the products as opposed to letting us do it. But I'm sure behind the scenes, the president is actually telling the Chinese or begging the Chinese what he really wants, and that's to maintain the relationship between the dollar and the RMB so that the Chinese government is forced to create inflation at home to soak up all of our inflation and to keep buying our treasuries so he can keep financing the stimulus plans and the bailouts that's actually bankrupting our nation, but which he hopes will get him reelected. Unfortunately, he could succeed in bankrupting the country, but I hope he doesn't in his reelection. Hopefully we come to our senses before then. You know, also, you know, on this lunacy of Obama and the double talk, apparently he is calling a summit on jobs, to create jobs. Now, this is pretty ironic because President Obama is the biggest job destroyer in this country. It's his policies that are destroying jobs. In order to have jobs, entrepreneurs need a profit incentive, and we need capital. You can't have a job without capital because workers need tools. They need, you know, and what he's doing is destroying capital, creating disincentives to save with extra regulations and extra taxes. He's raising the cost of employment. So, you know, he is killing jobs. I wrote an article about this on my website at Europac.net. It's this week's commentary. It's a great article on jobs, and so read it. Unfortunately, I wish Barack Obama would simply read my little article. It would save a lot of money and probably a lot of jobs over having this big show in Washington, this phony job summit that isn't going to create a single job while he goes on destroying jobs with his policies. You know, part of the job destruction has to do with the trade deficit. Trade deficit came out today. It surged by 10%. That's the biggest increase in the trade deficit in over 10 years, or surged by 18%. And there was an article in the New York Times this week that confirmed something I've been saying, that a lot of our GDP growth and our productivity growth has been an illusion, because what's really happened is American companies have outsourced their manufacturing abroad, but the statisticians still count the production as if it took place in the United States, and so the GDP is higher than it really is. And of course, they think we're producing more with fewer workers, so our productivity goes up. But the only reason we have fewer workers is because we fired them, because foreigners are doing the production instead. And so jobs are created abroad while we destroy them here. And the two are related. But until we stop pursuing these policies that are undermining our productivity, undermining our industrial base, and chasing capital out, we're never going to create jobs. You know, more on this government hypocrisy, you're trying to have it both ways. A government agency came out today with a report on the housing market. And they had kind of an upbeat report. They said that the extension of the tax credits, these homebuyer tax credits, is going to stabilize the housing market. Now, what does that mean? Or stabilize home prices, they said. Well, what does that mean? Well, stable home prices mean home prices aren't going to fall. But wait a minute. Aren't the tax credits supposed to benefit home buyers? If the tax credits stop home prices from falling, doesn't that hurt home buyers? Wouldn't home buyers benefit from lower home prices so that they can buy the home for less money? The reality is all the benefits of the tax credits go to the home sellers because they get a higher price for their homes than they would have got absent the subsidies. So they should really call this a tax credit for home sellers, not home buyers. You know, it's the same deal with student loans, right? As I said in my other video, student loans don't benefit the students. They get stuck with a bill for a higher tuition. The student loan programs really benefit the universities that get away with murder, charging inflated tuitions that they never could have charged if the students didn't have access to all that credit. Now also, I was watching on CNBC today as they were promoting an interview that they did with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. And again, Warren Buffett is out there with nonsense cheerleading of the phony U.S. economy. I mean, first of all, he said that there are more investment opportunities in America than in the rest of the world. Well, obviously, I mean, that can't be. We're one country. How could there be more opportunities here than in the entire world combined? I mean, he knows that's not true. Why is he saying that? He's just trying to be positive. You know, he also said that he has confidence in our system, that our capitalistic system, that our market-based system has worked. It's always come back, and he has confidence that it's always going to work. Well, what system is he talking about? I mean, he's certainly not talking about free market capitalism with sound money and low taxes and low regulation, the system that built this country, because we don't have that system anymore. If he's confident in the system that exists today, where we have artificially low interest rates, creating asset bubbles, where we have an economy based on borrowing and consumption, not saving and production, where the government is micromanaging it from Washington, where we're bailing out companies that should fail, where the government is taking over our economy, that's the system he has confidence in? That system can't work. That system is doomed to fail, and Warren Buffett must know that, or, you know, he's not nearly as smart as I thought he was. Now, also, another thing I saw on CNBC today, Ron Paul happened to be on Squawk Box, and Steve Leisman was on there with him, and Steve Leisman's, you know, trying to discredit him by trying to say that Ron Paul, you know, is in favor of the gold standard, and Steve Leisman says, well, you really want to go back to the gold standard? You want to take us backward to a gold standard? Now, you know, what Steve Leisman doesn't understand is that it's not going backwards. It's actually going forwards. It's the paper money standard that's backwards. Paper money, irredeemable paper money doesn't work. Our founding fathers knew that. You know, Steve Leisman acts like paper money is a brand new invention, that we came up with it ourselves this century. We didn't. It was tried many, many times in the past, and it failed. Every time it was. Our founding fathers knew a lot more about history than Steve Leisman, and that's why they wanted to move forward to a gold standard, to sound money. You know, there's an expression, not worth a continental. That's the money that our founders were using prior to the revolution, or during the revolution, prior to the Constitution, and it collapsed. It lost 90% of its value, and it gave way to the expression, not worth a continental. Unfortunately, Steve Leisman doesn't understand this, and if we don't learn from history, we're condemned to repeat it, and the phrase, not worth a continental, is probably going to be replaced one day with not worth a Federal Reserve note. Anyway, that's it for today. One thing I want to mention, I am holding a make-up money bomb. You know, we had the money bomb last week on Thursday. The saboteurs screwed up the website, so a lot of people couldn't donate. So let's make the make-up rain check money bomb Monday, this Monday, November 16th. So if you couldn't donate the first time, donate this time. And even if you did donate, donate again. Let's show these guys who are trying to screw up my campaign that if they do it again, it's just going to backfire. Because the more they screw us up, the more we're going to raise. And if they do it again, we're just going to raise even more money because of their efforts. Anyway, take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.